So at this point, we're going to bring up Mr. Scott Ulrey, who is the director right now of our contracts management, who are really going to tell you the nuts and bolts of what it is that DARPA can and can't do and how to work with DARPA.
Great. I'm going to go around. Okay. Thanks, Jeff. I heard Jeff say earlier about what really makes the contracting office different, what makes DARPA different. It's because we really operate between two different worlds. We operate not only in the traditional contracting world, but we operate in the non-traditional commercial world. So we operate in two worlds, and that's what makes us kind of unique, because we know we need to pursue breakthrough technologies, wherever they may be from. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to try and dispel a few myths that you might have. Myth one, okay, government contracting is too complex. It is. I can't deny that. The FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulation, and the Defense FAR Supplement are over 2,000 pages of regulations. But I will say that we've simplified the process so that you can work with us. We want the commercial companies to work with us. We're trying to lower the barriers so we can attract more commercial companies to work with us. So we're trying to make the solicitation process a lot easier. DARPA has a lot of funding. We have a lot of funding to fund great ideas. And contracting is not a barrier. So the government only works with defense contractors. Not true. First of all, defense contractors are only one group that we work with. So we also work with universities, nonprofits. We work with foreign governments, foreign companies, commercial companies that don't do business with the federal government. So we work with all of them. But basically, DARPA is all about the ideas. So we're all about pursuing the best ideas wherever they may be from. But I will say, as long as you're not on the sanctioned contractor list, sanctioned country list, I should say. So obviously, it's not good practice to contract with foreign governments that aren't on the good list, so to speak. So the third myth is you need a government-approved contract, a cost accounting system. Well, you don't necessarily need that system. First of all, a government-approved cost accounting system is only required if you're receiving a cost reimbursement contract, a traditional cost reimbursement contract from the federal government. So you don't really need that process, and we have special authorities which allow us to allow you to work with just generally accepted accounting principles, and of course that's the IRS standard. So we can actually operate, you can actually operate using your existing commercial accounting practices. And myth four, and this is very important, is that the government there's this myth out there that the government wants all IP rights. Well, the truth is we really don't want your intellectual property rights, and we go to great lengths to protect your intellectual property rights. So typically what the government asks for is they ask for something called, we call it government purpose rights. They're not commercial rights, but they're just for government purposes. So typically we want you to be as successful as you possibly can be, because when you're successful, we're going to be successful. So that's really what we're trying to do. We're not trying to take your rights. But we do want to make sure you do something with the technology, and that's very important. So we have something which we call march-in rights, for example. So basically it means if you're not going to do something with it, you shouldn't have a problem with us doing something with it. So we're very focused on making sure you get the technologies to the market. Okay, so we also focus on flexibility and innovation, and speed is very important to us. DARPA is a very fast-paced organization. The program managers come in for a very limited period of time, and they want to see results very quickly. So that transfers over to the contracting group. So what we try and do is we try and reduce lead times as fast as possible. We want to negotiate proposals as fast as possible. We want to get them on contract as fast as possible. So just to put things in perspective, in many cases we can negotiate contracts in 30 days or less. And to put that in perspective, in the traditional contracting world, that takes typically about 180 days through the RFP process. It's a very long, lengthy process. I'm not saying we can do 30 days, all the time, but we can definitely achieve that, with your help. So flexibility. We're very focused on tailoring the solicitations to the audience we're trying to attract, and we use different contract types. So we move in between these different areas. And special authorities. Now, we're able to eliminate a lot of bureaucracy. What we obtained in 1989 was something called Other Transactions Authority. And actually, I've been in the federal government for over 30 years, and I actually came to DARPA when we set up that process. But they were really designed to attract commercial companies that traditionally would not do business with the federal government. And so with this authority, it allowed us to reach out to the commercial companies of the world, to the Intels, to the Crays, to companies that would actually sell products, but they would not actually do research and development for us. So we work with a lot of small companies, and we don't force you to operate, and come in and set up accounting systems and all this whole process. We allow you to operate in your own commercial fashion. And fairness. Fairness is extremely important to us. We want to make sure that we're achieving competition to the maximum extent practicable. I'm also the competition advocate for the agency, so I'm very focused on making sure we keep our competition statistics high. Typically, we're in the high 80s and 90% in terms of our competition, which is very good compared to the rest of the department. And we want to make sure that, everyone is treated equally. We want to make sure we get the maximum competition that we can. Okay, so we have multiple award options. The first one, it's based on the situation or who we're trying to attract, basically. So in the traditional procurement contracts, which are FAR-based, which are federal acquisition-based contracts, we're really buying goods or services for the direct benefit of the government. And this is the vast majority of what we do, even at DARPA. We do the vast majority are traditional procurement contracts. And second, we do grants. Now, who are these? It's support and stimulation type activities. They're not gifts. What they are is they're basically advancing a public purpose. We're trying to accomplish a public purpose. We are awarding these typically to universities and nonprofits, and they want to openly publish their accomplishments and so forth. So we do work with universities and nonprofits, primarily with grants. Now, cooperative agreements are basically it's a grant. It's a grant, only there's substantial participation on the part of the government. We might be working side by side on the bench with you, or we might actually there might be more substantial management involvement in the program. So next is a technology investment agreement. Now, these are what you might be more interested in if you're a commercial company. They're dual-use technology development agreements. And basically, these are what were the original other transactions. And so these really allow us to you can have complete flexibility in intellectual property, in accounting practices. You don't have to comply with all the subcontract administration requirements, all the various traditional requirements. And then last, we have what are called other transactions for prototypes. And these agreements are, again, a form of another transaction, and it's basically where we're trying to acquire a military prototype. Now, that's very loosely defined. But basically, we're just, for example, if you're in the cyber world, the prototype could be the hack that's being delivered or something like that, or whatever is delivered. Okay, so what do we most commonly use? We use a broad agency announcement to solicit the world for our ideas. And broad agency announcements are very focused on research and development. They're exclusively used for research and development. And basically, it's a competition of ideas. So think of these are technical competition. We're trying to advance the scientific study and experimentation. We're trying to get advances in the state of the art. And what's unique about broad agency announcements is that these agreements, or these announcements, basically will say, I have this problem, and we want you to send in all your revolutionary approaches to solve that problem. So it's very different than a request for proposal, which is very requirements driven. But there's no common statement of work. There are varying technical approaches and solutions. And technical quality And approach is the main factor. And another point, the next point is about communication with proposers. They're always, and it's very different from a request for a proposal process where all questions come through the contracting officer. So in this case, communication is allowed all the way up until submission of proposals themselves. And it's basically to try and get the best ideas. You're competing on technical grounds, not cost grounds. So, and the next thing is about white papers. We use white papers quite a bit. And what we recognize is that white papers really eliminate a lot of unnecessary effort on the part of offerers when your idea really is not of interest to us. We recognize that the cost is it's very expensive to prepare proposals, and abstracts can certainly minimize that. And we usually have industry days where the program managers get up and brief all the communities on their particular program. Okay, broad agency announcement types. Okay, the vast majority of what we do are program-specific BAAs, and these are issued throughout the year. These are very focused broad agency announcements. We also have 2 year-long BAAs within BTO that are more general, so they cover all the various topics within the Biological Technologies Office. And they have a rolling submission process because you can submit it any time during the year. So how can you find out about BAAs? Well, first of all, the General Office BAA is DARPA BAA 15-35. You can search for it that way. But we also have a BTO Easy BAA. And in that BAA, this is designed to attract commercial participants, commercial industry participants. And what it does is it's a very streamlined approach to attract the non-traditional companies. And it's a 25-page solicitation, and it has a 2-page abstract, and it has a 20-page proposal. So these are really short, quick, easy ways of doing business with us. So how can you work with DARPA? Well, you can contact the BTO program managers who are here, obviously, or you can go look at darpa.mil, or you can contact a member, either myself or a member of my staff, at this email address here. But, I just want you all to know that we can always figure out a way of doing business with you. So I don't want you to think that, we're going to make things so complicated for you that it just totally turns you off from federal government contracting, because we can certainly accomplish that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff, and I think we're all ready for lunch.